Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the very first episode of Jabulani Podcast, a segment of Jabulani Radio programs. And as you know very well, the main goal of Jabulani Radio has always been to promote African music, at the same time promote African culture. I'm your host, Shadi Shihusa, and today I'm excited and privileged to introduce to you the Rumba Monk, the face behind two Jabulani Radio programs, The Dawn of Hope and Rumba Fiesta. He'll tell you more about himself. Karibu tena zaidi rafiki yangu. Mambo vipi?
Thank you so much.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
Uko salama?
Yes, I'm good.
It's been a minute since I last saw you, bana.
Yes, I'm good.
And you're glowing. It seems like that you're not singing the Kasongo song.
Life is good with me.
One thing I was told is if you like listening to good music, you never grow old.
Yes, that is it. And it happens that this is music that has been happening in the background since I was born. So basically, I was born and brought in music.
So in your entire life, the things that you've been associating yourself with is purely mziki.
Yes, and possibly that is the reason you say I'm glowing.
Karibu zaidi. And I'm happy to be having you here today. Papa, Mr. Jerome Ogola Mokipenda, the Rumba Monk. So, who is the Rumba Monk?
The Rumba Monk is, as you said, Jerome Ogola, a music enthusiast, a keen observer who has over the years listened to, danced to, studied, and gone ahead to learn 1, 2, or 3 things behind the great voices and the men who make this music, essentially meaning that he is a big music commentator, as I speak.
A big music commentator. Wow, 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 wow,
Yes.
wow, wow. Do you have maybe a specific analogy behind the name the Rumba Monk?
A monk is
Like, why did you decide to call yourself the Rumba Monk?
Because a monk owns a monastery. A monk is the man behind every activity that happens in a shrine for a specific function. For this case, in this music now that I'm so deep into it, then the most cherished title that befits me is none other than the monk himself.
Nice, super nice. And we are really grateful you being part and parcel of Jabulani Radio, and our goal has always been to promote classic African music and African culture, making sure that we are not losing our original identity as African despite the civilization and despite the change, the global change that we are actually experiencing right now. And that takes me to a question. You being part and parcel of Jabulani Radio, what is Jabulani Radio to you? If someone asks you today, like, Monk, why should I take my time to listen to Jabulani Radio?
I'd say Jabulani is more than a radio.
Okay.
Specifically, it is a bridge. It is a link between a people, that is Africans, and the world. When you tune into Jabulani, you are actually listening to the story of Africa being narrated by Africans themselves through their arts. And for this case, the art is music.
So basically, if you become a lover of Jabulani Radio, it means you're going to understand how Africa looks like, the culture of Africa, and how you're supposed even to live as an African.
Yes, every drum beat tells a story. Every guitar strum tells a story. Every aspect of the society is communicated through art. And this art can be conveyed in different formats and in different means. But for this case, when this music is played, maybe from a different forum, it means now that the information being relayed per se is going to the global audience, but it's not coming from the owners. So if it comes from Jabulani, it comes from Africans. so it comes from the owners. It is Africa speaking to the world. And that is why we do it differently, and like any other FM station, matters are completely different at Jabulani.
Because one time, a listener actually asked me, why did you guys choose to go the African music way? Because currently, even if you listen to radio stations, what other radio stations are doing currently, they are playing what is in the market right now. But Jabulani Radio has really focused on what was in the market back then. We are now bringing it back and trying to tell people, you know what, this is what real music was.
Yes, music has that social, cultural aspect. It's not just about entertainment. As much as we may dance to the beat, but there is something that must resonate to the dynamics of the society. There is something that should be reflective of the people behind the music. There is something that is being conveyed through the lyrics. It's not just about music, and that is why there could be several other genres that are associated with the African continent, but we strictly stick to those that tell the story of Africa.
So does that mean that each and every African music or African style of music tells story about Africa?
Yes, each and every type of a genre is associated with a particular civilization. For example, along the Kenyan Tanzanian coast, we have a very popular genre of music called Taarab.
Okay.
Taarab is associated with the culture of the coastal people. It tells a story of the coastal people. If you go to South Africa, you get Kwaito, which is dominated by the drums. It is this drum set that actually defined the ceremonies that they had before the Western civilization came in. That is what defined entertainment. If you go to the mountainous part of Kenya, the central part, there's a traditional music called Mwomboko. It defines their ways. If you go to Nyanza, there is a genre of music called Benga, which also defined their ways. It was specifically an improvement of their previous traditional music, which was associated with their culture. So I'd say every form of civilization had some kind of music, but then some genres had an opportunity to grow and even outgrew what would have been their traditional frontiers, whereas some remained within the villages. So some genres are more known than the others. And as it happens with the music, the more globalization happens, some other aspects also get fused into these particular genres, and they get changing with the day, just like any other aspect of culture.
So basically, African music is tied to a culture. Each and every African music is tied to a culture somewhere.
Yes.
Because that's why you'll find, if you come to Kenya, the Luyas have their own way of doing music, the Luos have their own way of doing music, but at the end of the day, it is conveying...
If you want to talk about Luya music specifically, we will talk about Umutibo, which was popularized by Shem Tube. If you want to talk about Luya music, we may talk about Litungu. It's an instrument, but that particular style of plucking had been associated with a particular genre.
Okay.
Done in a modified way, we get this. There is a popular beat in Bukusuland. They call it, like the one Barasa does, they call it Tindikiti. They even...
Tindikiti, yeah.
It speaks of a specific community. Now, if you want to get what these people are talking about, you're allowed to get it creatively through art, not specifically through a spoken word. Because I can choose to lie to you. But that art is like a mirror. It is reflective of the happenings in that particular
Because
society.
even the performance, it used to vary differently depending with the occasions, mostly.
Yes.
Because if in your funeral, you realize that the performance is very different. Like in Luya, there are songs we know. Even you feel somebody, even you hear somebody singing them, you tell them, no. This one was not supposed to be sung at this time.
Yes. Each and every cultural aspect had music for that particular occasion. We had songs for war, songs for circumcision, songs for harvest ceremonies. And so for you to tell this story of war, this story of harvest, this story of circumcision to the world, you will play that music. It will relay that message to the world better than if we had brought somebody to narrate us the culture of that particular story. Music generally an art. And that is why Jabulani serves it differently. We are telling the story of Africa through art, and specifically music.
And I think it is something that is going to make people feel, I think, we bring back the glory that was lost. Because I believe if we would have upheld African culture and traditions, our way of doing things, it would have made Africa a very unique continent. But again, I'll be told that change is inevitable.
Change is inevitable. There are some changes which come with a positive impact to the society, and there are some changes which end up eroding the values which actually define that particular society. So change should be embraced, but not all forms of changes come with a positive impact to the society.
And I think that is the reason as to why we still have Jabulani Radio. I understand in Africa we have several genres.
Yes.
And from my understanding is African music has always been telling a story about Africa. Does all these genres talk about African history?
I can say there are some genres which have been dwarfed to the essence that they're little known beyond the villages, their villages of origin. And we have some genres like rumba, which have managed to surpass all these others. In the sense that if I go to a European club and I ask for African music, most likely they will play for me rumba, because that is what will come to the mind automatically. So rumba is somewhat a representative of the music that is done in Africa. Although this should not be construed to mean that it is the only music that is happening in Africa. We have makossa in Cameroon. Just like I told you, we have several genres in Kenya. In South Africa, we have very many genres. We even have contemporary ones that are not attached to any specific part of culture. Like in Nairobi, you will get, there is genge, there is hip hop. If you go to Tanzania, there is they call it bongo. It is not attached to any aspect of culture, but it is still recognized as a genre of music. But if you listen to rumba, you will definitely know that this one is intertwined to the history of Africa. For example, Independence, Cha-Cha,
that is Nico Kasanda.
What will I be talking about? I'll be talking about Congolese independence, because these songs were composed specifically for the event which happened in January 1960 in Brussels, which led or culminated to the independence of Congo. If I sing, for example, Sasa ni lunch time, tufunge makazi, twende kwa chakula, tuje tena sanane, I'm simply capturing the challenges that the Abeni
I can really relate with that song.
Ukizaliwa wewe ni kijana, ukose kazi tabu yote itakufuata.
It's very true, by the way.
I'm simply telling the history or the story of a people. That is what puts this particular genre of music apart from the others. That's it. For example, if we say there is a genre called gengeton, it is themed on drugs, it's themed on sexuality, and also themed on street violence. It is not telling a history of Africa. The three aspects have got nothing to do with Africa. That is why rumba has managed to surpass all these songs.
And rumba has been unique because I think it has been covering all aspects in Africa. You'll get a song talking about matter society, be it marriage, how you're supposed to conduct yourself. You get a song talking to you like, this is how you're supposed to live with people. I understand Franco did a song where he was telling the manager to stop harassing and mistreating people, you know. So I think one reason that has made rumba become very much famous in the world and also being known to be an African music, it is its message and the way it used to be conveyed.
Yes, you see, like, for example, Rumba Overdose, which is your brainchild.
Yes.
It is one of the most listened to radio shows across the globe by the data that is available. When an African who is in America wants to connect with his people back home. He wants to connect with his continent, with the place that his umbilical cord was buried.
Yeah.
He will tune to that music. When he listens to that particular type of genre, it is reflective of himself. Whether he's aching or living abroad, whether he's within the villages.
Yeah.
There is something which resonates well with him. That's what sets rumba apart. The other thing which also makes a rumba to supersede these other genres was that if you read books written by, for example, Professor Ngugi wa Thiong'o, the themes are mostly influenced by the realities of what was happening in the villages those days, which was colonialism.
Yeah.
You will rarely tell the history of Africa without talking about colonialism and slavery.
Yeah.
Rumba has got that part of slavery because these were original African beats. They were exported to the Caribbean. They were packaged in the Caribbean and then re-exported back to the shores of Atlantic in West Africa, where it grew with a completely different shape and came to be what is known as rumba. So essentially, this is something which was African, went on a safari, then came back, and it was owned or embraced by Africans. And it is the genre that is telling the story. That is why the monk hosts a show called Rumba
Fiesta.
Exactly, that is it.
Now, we've been mentioning rumba, and I definitely know my viewers and the listeners of Jabulani Radio will be like, okay, we just love this genre. What is this genre all about? If someone asks me today, Captain Shadishi Husa, what is rumba music?
What is rumba music? That one will be a very interesting question to answer.
And I would really love to know what it is.
If we take 7 people and lock them up in a room, and we give one a trumpet, the second one a saxophone, the third one a bass guitar, we call it singamine in Lingala, then the other one as lead guitarist, then another one a rhythm guitarist. This is the 5th person.
Yes.
The 6th person will give him a microphone, and then the other one will give him a drum set.
Full
and
band.
we ask them to do something. What they are likely to do will come out in the shape of rumba. But depending on if they are professional musicians, if they are they're not musicians, of course they just make noise there. What defines rumba? This is a genre that is basically driven on a skeleton of a rhythm guitar, a drum, solo guitar, and bass guitar. Yes.
So there has to be
the
those
rhythm
combinations.
Guitar, if I'm to define the rhythm guitar, it sets the pace. The rhythm guitar actually sets the template which these other instruments fills in. And then the solo guitar is strummed in the pattern of the melody. That's why it takes the solo function, and it's the lead guitar. The drums, these are like cosmetics, and they also add in setting up pace. And they also have some other spices, like the saxophone. Yes, that is what defines rumba. But again, how the singing is done will also set rumba apart from some other related genres, like benga. Yes.
So, for it to be called rumba, there has to be a combination of all these aspects.
Yes. A rhythm guitar must be played. A rhythm guitar plays from the beginning to the end.
Yes.
A solo guitar will be playing the pattern of the melody, which means it must not necessarily play from the beginning to the end. And then there will be a vocalist. Although there are some particular exceptions where the music is done differently. For example, if you listen to Ndaya, Nayebaki, Sugaseko Tingamai, Ngai Namobali Nangai, Pantalo Mokaba Mama. There is no solo guitar in that particular song. It's just a rhythm guitar, and then the saxophone is blown to take what would have been traditionally the role of the solo guitar.
So it
is still rumba, but a little fused or a little made different.
So it has its own style of being performed or being done for it to qualify to be called rumba.
And also, when defining the genre, it's also important to note that the word sukus has also been used by Western countries, especially scholars of music, to mean rumba. The words have been used interchangeably.
Okay.
When they say sukus, at times they mean, what they mean is rumba. But
because
is not rumba. Sukus is a subgenre of rumba
music.
But if you go to Wikipedia, they will tell you that Franco was a sukus musician. Actually, they're using the word sukus to mean rumba. But that's not the case. It's an issue of the language now.
So you need someone who understands it so well.
Yes.
Now, when can we trace it back? Like, when was rumba actually discovered in Africa?
Rumba has had several stages.
Yes.
And as I have said, it was not born, it was not conceived in a day. It is something, or I can say the conception happened in Africa,
but
the gestation happened in Cuba or the
Okay.
Caribbean Islands,
Okay.
and then it was brought back. When it came back, it coincided with the advent of recording technology. There was a recording company in Leopoldville in 1948 called Ngoma. It is the one which recorded the first rumba Congolese song. It was called Marie Louise.
Who performed it?
Marie Louise, solo e ngai na yo. The song was recorded in 1948
With who?
by
By who?
Wendo Kolosoi and Henry Bowane.
Uh-huh.
That is when, we can say that is the oldest recorded rumba.
Like,
And in those days, musicians were not professionals.
so
They would have some other engagements. For example, somebody is a teacher, somebody works as a blacksmith, and then they meet in the evening for some jigs, they perform in funerals. So it was not a very serious thing. But when recording technology came,
Okay.
now we started having professional musicians, like the case for Grand Calais. So we'd say
Because
rumba began in 1948 to be recorded.
that's
But
when
previously,
that's when the
it
now
existed in different forms. There were bands which were performing. And between 1948 and 1955, there were very many bands. There were very many musicians.
so we can say that the very first rumba song to be recorded, that was in 1948.
Yes.
But we cannot trace when it was discovered.
Yes. Or we cannot say when it was first sung, but we can say when it was first recorded. That's Marie Louise.
That is
But
19
within the era, we had musicians. There was Paul Mwanga, there was Wendo Kolosoi, there was Henry Bowane, there was Leon Bukasa, there was Camille Feruz, there was Pauline Bikunda, there was Adu Elenga, there was this man from Angola. You know, Angola and the DRC was basically one territory before colonialism.
Okay.
It's called Manuel de Oliveira and several other musicians. They took advantage of the advent of recording technology. They did several recordings, but most of these songs did not go beyond the boundaries of
Congo.
They
Yeah.
were not so known, but very many songs were recorded within that time. Until when in 1950, there was another recording company called Opika, which came to Kinshasa.
Okay.
This is the house that actually hosted the evolution of that band, which is called African Jazz, which had Grand Calais, Dr. Nico, and others. Then in 1952, Loningisa came. This is what gave Franco that opportunity. Then in 1955, there was Sefa. Sefa was owned by Belgian. All the others were owned by Greeks. And then finally, Esengo came in. And in 1972, Verkis Kiamangwana opened his state-of-art Maison Vevey, the ones that gave you Kavacha.
Wow. Now, having said that, definitely now, there has to be guys who we call them the pioneers of this very sweet genre called rumba music.
Yes.
There has to be some guys who sat down and said, you know what, we have to take this thing out here. You know, everything must have its, in Swahili we call it chimbuko, where it all started. Who are the pioneers of rumba music?
The pioneers, let us cluster them into 5 generations. The first one is the one which predominantly occupied the first segment of 10 years between 1948, let me say, to 1955.
Okay.
Some of the musicians, Wendo, the ones that I've just told you, like Camille Feruz. Camille Feruz was actually born in 1912. Wendo Kolosoi was born in 1924. So these were guys who were adults in 1930s.
Yeah.
But those who made this music popular and be accepted as a genre are the second generation musicians.
Not the first one.
The first one, they did their job,
Yeah.
but they were not very successful in popularizing this genre.
They just discovered it.
Yes.
Okay.
But if anybody was to have or own the title father, like I've had it being wrongfully credited to Grand Calais, it ought to be this first generation, because the father should be the first one in that genealogy, should be the patriarch of the entire setup.
Yes.
So it is this second generation which made it popular. Why? Because, like I said, the fate of Congo's independence in 1960 was bargained in Brussels. And a band called African Jazz was invited specifically for that function, and they composed a song. That was the advent of Congolese music going international.
Yeah.
The band was called Grand Calais, and the musician was Grand Calais, and the band was African Jazz.
African Jazz, yeah.
This band was created in 1953, and that is the advent also of what we call professionalism in music. This was the first time where somebody could just be a musician. Like Dr. Nico, he was a technical school teacher.
Yeah.
He quit teaching to go and concentrate in
Music.
Then this is also the generation that had Franco. This is also the generation that had Nino Malapet, Jean Bombenga, Bavon Marie Marie, and all these other musicians.
Now
These
the
are
second
people-
generation.
The second generation.
Yeah.
And then that generation is Kavacha of Verkis, the one that give you... Now this generation...
The second generation now begins from 1955. Because the first generation starts
we will
from
begin from
1948.
1955 to early 1960s, or let me say mid 1960s. Because if we take it to late 1960s, like 1966, we'll be having something different now. Because now the beat was also taking shape. You see?
So in all these generations,
Yes.
the style was also changing a bit. There was introduction of some other elements.
Central to these performances of Congolese music, as we have said earlier, is an instrument called electric guitar. Electric guitar was first strummed in a recording by somebody called Bill Alexandra in 1955.
All right.
Bill Alexandra was a Belgian, and he's the one who introduced the electric guitar in Congolese music. It defined this second generation of Congolese
Music.
Having said that, it is the guitar which defined this section, coming to mid-1960s, another aspect was being accommodated, was being introduced into the music. Now it was now becoming an issue of showbiz. Music previously was mostly to be listened to, but with the guys like Verkis now, music now was now becoming a showbiz thing. Somebody could go on stage and perform it, and apart from what they're listening, they would also want to see these musicians dance to it.
Yeah.
That is when the Kavacha now crept in, and the Kavacha is the third generation Congolese music. This is where we have now Lepua, Zaiko, Veve, and these other bands. And they come with a segment called Seven, which is meant specifically to dance. Verkis had the sax seven, where he'd predominantly play the saxophone after the singing is done, and then that would be the part that the showbiz ladies would now dance to.
So will I be right to say that the second generation and the third generation actually took this rumba music genre to another level?
Yes, of course.
Because if I can trace it, I feel like now people like Franco, those are in the second generation. Zaiko comes into the third generation, and Zaiko is still there.
Yes, Zaiko Langalaga is still there, but you also have to understand that there are some bands which traversed several generations, which existed for several generations.
Like?
There are very many bands. Like Kofi Olomide was there with the third generation and is still there.
But personally, I do love the old one, the old Kofi. Having gone through all these generations, and there is one man who comes out to be very iconic, very much famous, and to some maybe who just don't know much about rumba, they'll tell you like, he's the father of rumba music, he's the superstar of rumba music. The man called Franco Luanzo Luambo Makiadi. Why did this man turn out to become very much famous and very strong as far as rumba music
is concerned? I'm sure even when you're presenting a program, you notice that Franco songs are the most recognized and they're the most loved.
Definitely.
Yes.
Definitely.
Franco's success can be attributed to a cocktail of factors.
Okay.
I will list them as follows. The first one is talent. Franco was a good guitarist. When I was coming this morning, I was listening to a song called Mobali Nangai Azali Etude na Porto. My husband is a student in Porto, in Europe. There is a very beautiful solo guitar that can only be done by the genius of Franco. His hands and fingers were marvelous on the fretboard. He was a talented guitarist. And still on talent, Franco was also a very, very good vocalist with his authoritative baritone. Kimpakisanga Meni Mama.
That is one of my super best songs.
So his vocal was just good, and it came also to identify the music of that particular band, and that is the second reason why he rose above the others. And thirdly, he was also a good composer. I doubt any composer has ever existed, not just in a rumba, Congolese, but also in some other genres as well, who was as good as Franco, because it is estimated that out of, not it is estimated, it's actually factual that out of around 1,500 songs done by Franco, which are available, close to 900 are his own composition. If you go to Kenya, even South Africa,
So
you will rarely get anybody who has composed 1,000 songs.
this man basically wrote 1,000 songs.
Yes.
Different message.
Yes.
Different styles.
Exactly. That is it. That is a
legend.
A uniqueness on its own.
He's a legend. He's a legend.
If we try to compare him with some of the Africa's best, for example, like Dube, who did quite some good reggae from down south,
Yeah.
his songs are barely 300. And even if you compare him with some other, for example, some of the Kenyan musicians, which I'd say would maybe do well when it comes to number, is Kolela Maze, because in my custody, more than 1,000 songs of his, but his own compositions are less than half that particular amount. So the fact that he composed very many songs put him above the rest. And within OK Jazz, for the fact that Simaro was composing philosophical songs, also made the wrong assumption
But
that Simaro
and
was the master composer.
That is what was that was taking me to my second question,
He
because
did quite some songs.
If Franco is the composer of 900 songs and most of the songs that were done by OK Jazz, where did Simaro get the name Le Poet?
Because his songs are poetic, the songs are
people will tell you that
his songs are philosophical, and they are also, you see, he also brought also another concept where music was not just music, music was something being narrated. That is why his songs are close to what the modern contemporary youth would call this. They call it spoken word, where they even lose the rhythm. They also lose the plot, but they change they stick to a particular narration to pass the specific message. That's what Simaro did. But when it comes to numbers, Franco did very well. And also known that in music, the success of any particular music is also gauged by how well that particular album was sold. And for example, songs by Franco, like Mario, they are wildly popular, more popular than Boula and others.
Yeah, I had how many? Was it 200,000?
It has sold very many copies across the globe, if it is still selling.
How many years did he stay in the game, beside leading TPOK for 30-something years?
He stayed in the game for 37 years. OK Jazz still for 37 years,
Okay.
But himself 35, because he died some years before OK Jazz was disbanded. 30-something years. And reverting to the Franco, what made him succeed was also consistency, the one that you're talking about. For you to stay in the game for some time, you also requires some level of discipline, because most bands rarely exist to celebrate their 10th birthdays, but Franco's lived beyond the 30th birthday, and he was still on top of things.
On top
and
of the
there
game.
are also some other things which also maybe inadvertently contributed to his success. For example, he was a very charismatic guy. Charisma is inborn. You cannot train yourself to be charismatic.
Yeah.
So those are things which worked for him. And there are also some other factors. The guy also knew how to maneuver around. For example, there was this guy who had one eye, was called Jan Kitachima. By the way, my son is called Jan from that gentleman. This guy was always walking around smelling for talent, nothing less. When he gets into the villages, smells that this one can be a good guitarist, he takes you to Undetoya Franco, you go and do auditions there, then you're taken in.
And I think
that was also another uniqueness.
That is one reason as to why he made OK Jazz popular.
Yes. And the band was also big. He also had some trick. He knew how to retain these musicians. If any band you go, there is always somebody who said it's a grand talk. Somebody wants to run away. He has not been paid well enough. Or he feels that somebody is eating his sweat. At least there's some level of disgruntlement.
Wow.
So for Franco to have contained all this ego of these musicians, there is somewhere where Lola is quoted saying that he was not sufficiently paid for the songs that he did with OK Jazz. So if Franco retained Lola in OK Jazz from 1967 to 1992, those are 25 years. It means he also had some magic on how to retain.
He was very wise, because I get to hear a story on how Opetum left Afrisa to OK Jazz. And Franco decided to take a Volkswagen to his home and left the key to his wife and told him, if he does not come to OK Jazz, I'll just come for my, for my car.
Yes, it happens. That's one of the best ways of enticing talent. Verkis used to pay them a lot of money. You're given a house and you're paid just to go and make music. So that is actually what made Franco who he was. And then look at it. In 1973, Franco visited Tanzania. He actually celebrated his birthday. He was born on 7th of June. 6th of July, sorry. And he celebrated his birthday in 1973 in Tanzania.
Okay.
And he rode actually on a presidential limousine, complete with the coat of arms. That was the first time and possibly the last time when somebody different, a civilian, has ever rode in that particular limousine.
It might never happen again.
Yes, a cavalcade of vehicles on the road. But who is the man, the guest?
Franco Makiadi.
When he went to Khartoum in 1982 or 83, there was a stampede that killed around 6 people. People never even went to listen to music. They only wanted to catch a glimpse of this man called
Franco Makiadi.
That is how
So he's a legend.
Yeah, that's how legendary he was. And his grave right now in Gombe Cemetery receives more guests than even some museums in that country.
I should.
When somebody steps in Congo, you only wants to see where
Franco was buried.
interred.
Oh. Now, I understand that rumba is a general genre.
Yes.
Na yuko na watoto ndani yake.
Yes.
Could you at least tuingie ndani, you get to understand these genres so that somebody should not tell us that Sukus is rumba music?
Now,
How many
rumba-
genres do you have, by the way?
Rumba is
Subgenres.
the broader genre.
Doma Mayao.
Yes. Then under rumba, we have its children. These children are the sub-genres. These sub-genres have also been evolving with the time.
Okay.
The sub-genres of rumba are, there's bolero, which is imported. There is charanga, which is imported. There is merengue, which is imported. There is pachanga, which was imported but modified. Then there is kavacha. Then there is sukus. And then there is this other breed of sukus, which some people refer to as techno sukus. Some others use different other words.
That is like in
And then-
extra musica.
Yes. Then below that one, these genres, we also have dance styles, which have also been oftentimes been confused for genres. For example,
Kwasa kwasa.
yes, kwasa kwasa is a dance style. Dombolo is a dance style. Odemba is the name which was used to refer to that particular school of rumba, which was identified by Franco's guitar and Vic Longomba's voice. And Fiesta was the name which was used to refer to that school of rumba, which was identified by Dr. Nico's guitar and Grant Calais' voice. So those are not genres. The genre remains rumba. That
So
is it.
these are just I think it's,
Subgenres and
there
other
was
dance styles.
some people just understood it and decided to take it their own way.
Yes.
And since Sukus, Sukus is a bit popular, not a bit, but very popular.
Yes.
Should we say it was the peak of rumba music?
In terms of creativity, I'd say it was not the peak of creativity. The peak of creativity in rumba music, in my estimation, happened in the 1960s before the advent of sukus. But when it comes to globalization and commercialization, then sukus was definitely the peak because it was at this time. You know, sukus is an earthquake which was epicentered in Paris specifically, and to some extent in Brussels, in Belgium. So this music was gaining global recognition. And with that one, it meant that the music was to be done in a way that was appealing to the global audience. So there are some things which this genre got rid of completely. The success, the congas, they only remained with the guitars and the drummer.
Let me go back to our generational cycle. Because we had the first generation, second. Now, Sukus came in the third generation, right?
Fourth generation after Kavacha.
Fourth generation.
Yes.
Who invented them? Who invented it? Sorry.
It is also difficult to point it to a particular person, but in 1977, there was a festival which happened in Lagos, Nigeria. It was called the Fiesta.
Okay.
The Fiesta is called the Festac. After that Festac festival, like Dizzy Manjit, who is my friend, attended that festival, and the Lokasa Yambonga and others, and they chose to remain behind. When they chose to remain in West Africa, they created a band which was called the African All Stars. Africa All Stars performed in Lagos, performed in Abidjan and several other West African countries. And there was a very popular genre of music called high life those days in Lagos. So since these guys were playing to an audience which was accustomed to this high life music, they had to modify some few aspects of their music to suit the audience. And when the band finally disbanded after 2 years, they came to Congo, they carried along some aspects of these ones. So with the advent of Congolese musicians' migration to Paris, this is what actually gave birth to the soukous genre or subgenre, which is defined by a very, very high pitch
guitar.
by the guitars, yes.
And
so we'd say that may not have been the peak of creativity, but it was actually the peak of the genre being recognized globally and the aspect of commercialization as well, because they made musicians were now making money. Like Kaya Madoka, Dali Kimoko, they just go record, being paid, and they go. They're not traditional members of any other band. And the music was now making sense monetarily. Yes. That is why soukous could be more known than these other genres. But when it comes to creativity, it is an issue of opinion, and I think 1960s was the most classic.
Rumba.
Yes.
Definitely.
Mobali na kolinga zali na mwasi na ye na kokikoti kateo na yebi bolingo ezali kosalangai noki na miboma pamba na mabanzo. That was the peak of creativity in my estimation as the monk.
Wow, wow, wow. Speaking about technology, I'm a big fan of soukous, by the way. I love soukous. I love those high tempos. My people know when it's around 11 up. I really like it when I'm feeling the high tempers and getting the guitar taste of one guy called Lokasa Yambongo alongside Dali Kimoko. What has been the impact of technology as far as this rumba music is concerned?
Music has been a central aspect.
If we go through all these generations, there's been change. We can feel there is growth up to what people are now calling these days. They have actually divided into two. You'll hear some saying this old rumba, this is modern rumba. What has been the impact of
the impact of technology? Yes, I was saying technology is actually at the center or at the heart of the evolution of music. Yeah. You see, the mode with which music is played is defined by technology. For example, today somebody will play music in his smartphone. Those days, 1950s, he would require a radiogram to play that particular music. There were days when music was recorded. For example, when I was writing the history of this musician, I'm forgetting his name, is called John Nzenze. John Nzenze, guy. Yes, he was actually John Amutabi. And then when he did his first song, the pressing was to be done in South Africa. They had to ship the song for pressing in South Africa. So he had written his name as John Amutabi. But when the music went, it came back with the name Nzenze. It came back as John Nzenze. And since it was impossible to carry this music to South Africa to go and erase the problem and bring it back, he had to adopt that name. And that's how he became John Nzenze. That is the extent with which technology is changing how music is done and how it is consumed. Recording has been made easier, consumption has been made easier, marketing has been made easier by technology. Nowadays, you can even you can even configure or set your phone to play specific songs and then go off on its own at a specific time. And when it comes to the real aspect of recording, there were some instruments which were there. For example, there was Likembe and Rumba, it was gotten rid of. There was those shakers, maracas, they gotten rid of it. Then this computer programming was also introduced in the music. The saxophone, we had a keyboard as a replacement. So I can say that technology has been central in the consumption of rumba. And as much as it is the recording, the advent of recording, which brought life into music, it is also the same technology which also eroded some important aspects out of music. Right now, if you watch musicians in a studio, they rarely even carry the drum sets. They just go with two or even one guitar.
Most of them are played by computers.
Somebody will just play rhythm guitar, let it continue playing, strikes the pattern, let it continue playing, then he plays solo on it. And the same person, and that music is done. which actually erodes the luster that defines the greatness of this genre. We loved it when somebody would tune his guitar, somebody tuning his guitar, the drum, Dumere sets the pace, and then they go.
And that's why we don't see most of live performances.
Yes. These are things that you must get accustomed to. But on the other hand, there are benefits as well. For example, like yesterday in the evening, I was talking to Jano Bombenga. Traditionally, I wouldn't have had an opportunity to talk to him because he lives in Paris, and I live here in Kenya. But with the advent of technology, we can converse.
Technology is good. Technology has been great. But at times I do feel we would have used it to maybe better what we had.
Yes, technology is like a tree. It gives you shade. It gives you fruits. It prevents the wind from blowing away your house. It is also it has as a water catchment.
Yeah.
But if you climb on it with a rope, what does it do? It offers you suicide. So it depends on how you embrace it and how you use it.
Now, having talked about technology, what's your take on contemporary rumba music?
Methinks there isn't much of rumba to talk about. As much as somebody once said long time ago that as long as Congolese women will keep on giving birth, rumba will still be alive. I agree with that saying to some extent, but again, the type of music that they play do not portray the depth of talent as it was in the days of Franco, Tabu, and others.
Yeah, I agree.
So somebody who was wind in that particular music may feel a little disappointed that what is coming out of the studio today is not what his ears was accustomed to sometimes back. That is the disadvantage of technology, but it also has some
do you feel or do you think that we can bring back what used to be done, even if those who used to do them, they are not there? Because if Franco gave us more than 1,500 songs, it means we can still be playing them. Do you think that we will get to a point as Africa that we can bring back rumba to the levels that they were?
It is said
way
that
back?
the only thing that is constant in life is change. So you have to embrace it. Even if Franco was to be alive today, he would be doing the type of music that he did in 1953. Yes. Bolingo Nangana Beatrice, that one he recorded in 1955. And the songs that he recorded in 1988.
They're very different, by the way.
They're very different.
But
So this dynamism is actually inevitable. It's the only thing that we'd say we'd really love to, that it doesn't veer off what was traditionally. We want to listen to some nice guitar works. We want to listen to a harmonious vocals. Yes, these are things that we want.
I have hosted overdose. I guess this is my second year, and one thing I've learned is people are really missing what used to be done. That's why you'll find you're capable of hosting a 3-hour show just playing songs that were done in the 80s, 70s, 90s, and people are still appreciating it.
I would blame this one on DJs and radio presenters of Nairobi, because at some point there was a misconception that Western music or American music are trendy. So when a young man grows in the villages of Kenya, he will not wish to identify with benga, rumba, or this other beat that we have said previously is actually goes line in line with the traditions. He would want to sing along some gangster rap from America because it appears trendy for him to be singing music by Tupac Shakur. So nobody wants to, everything African is made to appear backward. So nobody wants to appear backward. They want to embrace these new things. And that's why Jabulani is there. Jabulani is there to rectify the derailment.
To take you back to the line.
Exactly, that is it.
And I really love it. I really enjoy it because anytime you sit down to take your 15 minutes listening to a song, personally, I'm a big fan of a song called Mamo.
Yes.
Mamo, the one that Franco did with
Bialu Madilu. It's actually one of his most popular numbers.
I really love listening to that song because...
And the song has something exceptional. That bass guitar is just out of this world. It was
I just love it. Then there is a bass guitar that was done also by this man called Mpudi Deka on a song called, is it Ndaya?
Yes, Ndaya, which was his composition.
The intro of that song,
yes, he was a very good
very unique, by the way.
Mpudi, the late, he died in 2002. He was a superb bass guitarist. He was very good at it.
And these are kind of things that we are actually missing. That is the reason as to why.
You wouldn't get it because nowadays technology has made things so much different in a way that some instrumentation are done in a way that you miss that signature of that particular person. You see the difference between computer programming. There's a song called Morena. Morena, Morena by Mangwana featuring Dizzy Manje Console. But the rhythm guitar is actually done by, it is some computer-generated rhythmic voice or sound. It makes the song completely flat. You wouldn't wish to listen to it. We are accustomed, we want to listen to the fingers of Lokasa.
And we want to feel the originality.
Yes.
Now, rumba was popular in Congo.
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure anything that is popular in any country, more so art, was usually used in politics. What was the role of rumba music maybe in politics in Congo?
There have been very many convergence between politics and music. For example, in 1969, 1970, Mobutu had a very ambitious program called Authenticité. He actually wished, or the aim or objective of this program was to get rid of the colonial relics, the European names of individuals, rivers, the European lifestyles. For example, he introduced that particular type of suit, which they called abacost, which is more like he actually took it or aped the one by Mao, which was also popularized by Nyerere, and people like Francois Makiadi became adopted more African names and got rid of these first European names. And the major way of marketing this program was through music. So he actually used music as a way of getting his ideology to the audience. And on top of that one, propaganda also makes a very big part of politics. And Mobutu and many other African leaders have on many occasions used musicians to attempt to popularize themselves to the electorate. There was a musician in Kenya called I'm forgetting his name. He was the founder of this band called Saka Saka. He sang for Nyerere, he sang for Idi Amin, he sang for Mobutu, he sang for several African leaders. He's currently in Juba. I'm forgetting his name. He's called Bikasi Mandeko Bijos. So there are very many ways with which politics merges or converges with music. Like Mbelia Bells also sang for Moi as a way of getting into his heart, because after the coup, Moi was very reluctant to allow foreign music to be played. He thought that it was a bad influence, and also because when the station KBC was taken over by the coup plotters, they had forced the broadcaster to play reggae music. And so Moi thought that this foreign music was also selling foreign ideology to Kenyans, and so he was reluctant. And the best way to get to his heart was to sing a song for Baba Moi, and that is
how Nake Nairobi came, you know.
Yes, and there are many other aspects where there is a song by Franco, Presida Leomba Obandeko. It was sung for the first Gabonese president, is called Leon Ba. There's President Adema by Franco himself. There is a Theodoro Biangwema, which was sung by Werason to the longest serving African leader, Theodoro Biangwema, who became president in 1979, long before possibly your father was born, but and the guy is still in power today as we speak. There are very many ways. We have very many songs sung for Patrice Lumumba Emery, who was a senior statesman in Africa. And there are some other aspects with which rumba also merges with matters politics. If you see, Franklin Bukaka was executed in 1972 when a coup happened. Franklin Bukaka comes from Republic of Congo, not Democratic Republic of Congo. And there was a coup to oust the president of those days. It was called Marien Ngwabi. And Franklin Bukaka had used his music to preach. He was actually also an activist. And he had used music to preach his activism. He was executed in that coup of 1972. And most of his songs were actually themed on Pan-Africanism. Even some of Franco's songs are themed on Pan-Africanism. So we can say there is a large extent with which Congolese music or rumba merges with politics. Like there is a song of Franco, Congo Mibale. See, we are taking water from the same river. We are speaking the same languages. Why are we people from different countries? These and many others. There are many places where music merges with politics.
So I get it. I understood it. So basically, we can say that indeed rumba was very much impactful, or is still very much impactful, as far as African music is concerned.
Yes.
And it's
even
still
in Congo, if you are endorsed by a certain musician, you are deemed to be several strides ahead in that particular race, whether it's presidential race or something like that one. music plays. Even in Kenya, there was this guy who was whipped by Kenyatta. Kenyatta asked that he be called to his residence in Gatundu. Was he DK or Kamaru? Kenyatta alichapa hivi boko. He was an angry man because that gentleman had done a song which appeared to be castigating the government over the murder of J.M. Kariuki. So music and politics are not strange bedfellows.
They are good friends.
Yes.
Nice. Having said all this about African music, what's your shot? Last shot?
My last shot is that if you want to get this music served best, then you have no option but to tune into Jabulani
Radio.
That is where the pot cooks African music.
That's super nice. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for being part and parcel of Jabulani Vodcast. I've been your super host, Shadishi Husa, alongside the Rumba Monk himself. See you again some other time. Keep it locked to Jabulani Radio because this is your #1 home of African tunes. Thank you so much.